like to call the meeting to order. We do have one agenda item this evening for this meeting, scheduled for 6:30. I would just like to remind council that we do have a regular scheduled town council meeting at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilor Crosco? Councilor Clements? Councilor Langevin? Excused. Councilor Manna? Councilor Marcucci?
Present.
Councilor Moriarty? Councilor Nicola? Councilor Peliquin?
Present.
Councilor Vandal?
Present.
8 here.
Thank you. Agenda item number 3, review resume and employment agreement for acting town manager Robert Reed and to submit to council for ratification. Motion a second. Discussion? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to speak. I do want to just kind of put things a little bit into context. Obviously, with my departure, I have meetings on a regular basis with the chair and vice chair to talk about various issues, and I think the three of us kind of agreed that it may be some assistance to the community to attempt to locate and try to find somebody to come in on an interim basis to help through the transition. And to that end, I did contact and talk to a couple of search firms and asked them if they did interim work. They indicated that they did not. So I had a fellow manager call me, and we were chatting, and he indicated to me that he was aware of a person who had just recently retired, Mr. Reed. I've only met Mr. Reed on a couple of occasions at managers' meetings. So I'm not really that familiar with Mr. Reed, but the other manager was, and luckily for me, I called Mr. Reed, and he agreed that he had some time. He is officially retired, but he decided that he had some time and would like to assist the town in its transition from one manager to another. So to that end, I asked him if he would come in. We've had several conversations since, and we have hammered out a employment agreement. The employment agreement is based upon the employment agreement that the town had executed with Jack Healy, who was the interim prior to my arrival. And this evening for the council's review is Mr. Reed's resume. He does have an impressive resume, has a lot of years of experience, as well as the employment agreement. But both of these things, I think, were done in the spirit of attempting to help the town through the transition process, and just wanted to at least frame that. And Mr. Reed is here tonight to answer any questions, and maybe he can do a little better overview than I did of his credentials and his experience. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. So what I'd like to do now is introduce Mr. Reed to the council and the community. Mr. Reed, if you could come up and introduce yourself, and welcome to our town council chambers and to the community.
Good evening. I'm Bob Reed. Very happy to be here.
Give us a little background.
Sure. I guess you do have copies of my resume. I've been in public administration since the mid-'80s, worked in communities almost the size of Southbridge, some smaller, some wealthy, some not so wealthy. Worked on a number of different projects. I recently retired from the town of Leicester, where I was for 9 years. They did ask me to stay on for a little bit, the interim there, so have a little bit of interim experience and know what that's like. I was, happy when Chris called, interested in continuing it when we met and started talking about some of the responsibilities. I just felt it start to come back. I was more interested, I think, in staying in the profession a bit as interim than I thought I would be, and happy to have the opportunity.
Councilor Manna.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Reed, I just have a couple of questions. It states here that it's 20 hours per week. I just wanted to know which days you intended on putting forth for the 20 hours a week.
Well, we have talked about a tentative schedule. I was looking at Mondays, mainly because of the council meetings. I understand there are follow-up department heads meetings on Tuesdays, and then since the late day is Thursday, it would probably be those 3 days.
Okay, thank you. And also, I did try to Google you a little bit, and I did come up with an article, Leicestertown admin Robert Reed to retire in July. And in here, it states that you mention a lot of personal circumstances for your retirement. Would this interfere with your possible interim here in the town of Southbridge?
I don't remember the context, but I think it was just personal circumstances on my retiring. It wasn't anything in particular. It was just, people ask, why do you retire? I just felt that rather than one big thing, it was a lot of little things, some personal, but nothing serious. Just, circumstances come together and you feel that it's the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Reed? Councilor Nicola?
Good evening.
I'd first like to thank the town manager for your diligence in your search and assisting the council in the interim of your absence. Appreciate that. And I just wanted to welcome you and hope that one of my questions regarding what you did mention to Councilor Manna, that it would be Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I'm not sure how Leicester, how they're set up, but we have a lot of subcommittee meetings. Are you going to be available if, say, for instance, there's a subcommittee, we never have anything on Friday, but if there was a Wednesday night subcommittee meeting, would you be available for something like that?
Yeah, the schedule will be flexible.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very flexible, and I'll discuss with department heads, et cetera, the council, what's coming up, and that's certainly subject to change. But like I said, we've had conversations about a tentative schedule, and that was the tentative schedule, but it's tentative.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Sure.
I think just to elaborate a little bit on that, the charter in this community is actually pretty well structured, that in the absence of the manager, the finance director serves as acting manager. So one of the things that I think they need to work out is to kind of just make sure they're on the same page. I would say that, perhaps I did attend almost all subcommittee meetings, and that was really by my managerial choice that I decided to do that in order to be effective. But not all managers do that, and I believe the track record here is to not necessarily have all managers have done that. I found that it was helpful to do it, so that's why I made that commitment. But I think that the combination of both, Bob and Karen, if they could work out, that will make sure that there's a smooth transition.
Thank you very much.
Any other counselors? Everybody's all set with the contract for Mr. Reed? There's no questions there? Go ahead, Counselor.
Can we go over this contract, seeing it's so short?
Sure.
Do you want me?
And we can pick it apart.
I don't know about picking it apart. I'm happy to go through the material.
You
within it.
read it and I'll pick it apart.
So just in terms of this, it is based upon what I would call a model contract that between a manager and a community. It lays out Section 1, deals with the functions and duties of the position. Obviously, we have a charter that needs to be followed, and Mr. Reed agrees to be the acting manager and to perform his duties specified within the town charter. I actually see that it says special act. We probably should amend that to say charter too. And then the term of office, he's agreed that he would start on January 2nd, 2014, and through June 30th, 2014. But there is a termination clause. The idea behind that termination clause is hopefully the search committee will complete its work in a timely fashion and have this done prior to the 6 months. So that's the reason for the transition. On the salary, has already been alluded to, 3 days per week. And I think we do have no fewer than 20 hours per week. And that the amount is actually $1,000 per week. Just to comment on that is within budget, so there would be no additional budgetary transfer that would be needed to be accomplished to go through with this. And then the last one thing of note, Mr. Reed has prior commitments, so will be unavailable from April 23rd to May 13th. During that period of time, Ms. Arnois would be the acting town manager. And that the next is my favorite clause, the Fair Labor Standards Act. The acting town manager is an exempt employee, which basically means you can work as many hours as you want, what that translates into. On the benefits, on the benefit package, it would be very minimal benefits, but he has in here the $25 per month for cell phone usage. That's the same language that I have in mind. That also the vehicle that the town makes available to me would be available to him to be able to use in execution of his duties. He would not be entitled to vacation, sick, retirement, or health insurance. All those presumably he has already. Under Section 5, professional development, that the town agrees to pay for any courses or seminars that they deem to be necessary in his execution. I'm trying to think of an example of that. I know I've gone to like liquor seminars or whatever, and if there's a fee that goes along with that, the town usually pays that fee. And then also his attendance at the Mass Municipal Association annual January conference, and then potentially also the Municipal Managers Association annual spring conference. I think in every year I've been here, I've gone to the January 1. I don't think I've been to the spring conference. And then on expenses, just basically available 24 hours a day. Make the automobile available to him. And then if, for any reason, his employment, if he's required to come back or serve as a witness, that he would be paid in attendance for a trial or per diem. If there's any legal elements, that's, again, standard language. I think I have that in my agreement. The indemnification, this is a clause that is in almost all managers' agreements, that you do your work in the execution of your professional duties, and therefore, because you do it in your professional duties, you're entitled to indemnification. Obviously, if you do something outside of those professional duties, then you could be held to personal liability. And then the signature page.
Counselor?
On the first page, section 3, salary. It says, agree that time and hours of work may vary. The manager work fewer than 20 hours per week. That's not 3 days, 20 hours. Isn't it 8 hours in a day?
Basically, well, I think we work 7.5. So if we work 3 full days, it would be over 21 hours. And it says, but in no event will the acting town manager work fewer than 20 hours per week.
And then on section 5, A, town shall pay the acting town manager's registration, travel, and subsistence expenses for educational courses, institutes, and seminars that are necessary for the good of the town and approved by the town council in advance, subject to budget limitations. I don't think that should be in there. We got temporary, he's not going to go get any credits on our time.
Yeah, I think, Council, I think this really has a couple of connotations to it. A very good example of this would be when I started, there was nobody in the organization that had procurement certification. So I did go get procurement certification because as the manager in the community, you're the chief procurement officer, right. So I went and obtained that. That is something theoretically that if he thought it was needed in his time here, he could get that. I think it's 3 or 4 days. So it is something that's doable, that the community may benefit from it. Yeah, but I think he would have the conversation with the council to see if that was needed.
For you, because you were full-time, but for just filling in, I mean, there's a lot of things in here I don't agree with. The town shall pay the town manager's registration fee, travel and substance expenses, and from the Massachusetts Municipal. I'm not crazy about that. Section 6A, the town manager shall be reimbursed for any expenses incurred in the performance of his or her duties or as an official representative of the town, including attendance by him or her at civic and social events. I don't want to pay him if he got to show up for a parade or some special, town function. I don't want him to be on the the payroll for, things like that. I'm sure you didn't get when you...
Yeah, no, that's true. I think I have the same language in my contract, but I never did put in, if I attended a veterans event or whatever, I did not put in for reimbursement.
Right.
However, if I was asked to go into Boston for something and I had parking or something, then I would put in for that. But I think that's more what this clause is, that's more what this clause covers, those miscellaneous expenses that may come up.
And then the town manager's duties require that he or she be on duty and available 24 hours a day. The town shall provide, maintain, and repair an automobile for the town manager's use. The town manager shall be reimbursed for his or her gasoline, tolls, and parking expenses in connection with his or her discharge of his or her duties. The vehicle may be used for personal use by the town manager. That's a no-no. I mean, I want to get away from that. I wanted to get away from a car, I wasn't in favor of giving you a car at that time, but it was outvoted. But I don't want it for personal. You never used your car for personal use.
Actually, believe it or not, Mr. Conrad, that, Mr. Vandal, I apologize.
That's all right.
That my initial contract was the same as this. I actually approached the town, and it was my choice not to use it for personal use, so I had the contract changed to say that I could use it for what's called de minimis personal use, because I was actually being taxed on that, even though I was coming to and from work every day with it. So I did that more for tax reasons. I think some of these questions, though, that, again, this is very similar to the contract that I have with the town, so there's not much that's actually changed in it. And I think some of the concerns that you're raising are concerns more for the permanent replacement when that's done. So this is really just the transition. And this is, this is the same material that we had when Jack Healy was done. I think Jack Healy was allowed to bring his car to and from Middleborough each day and put a lot of miles on it.
He brought it back and forth from Middleborough, but he didn't have my blessings on that,
I understand.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor, actually, Mr. Reed, I believe you did want to answer or bring something up to Counselor Vandal's point.
Well, only, as Chris said, I think much of it is standard on the education. I think Chris gave a good example. If there was a particular project going on and it would be worthwhile to attend some training on that, but I'm not going to be going back to college. Much of this is not only in standard contracts, it was in my contract with Leicester, and I didn't take advantage of it. It is standard. The spring conference, for example, I don't expect that I will be going. I haven't gone in years. However, the MMA annual meeting, that is really the meeting, and I think it would, even though I'm temporary, I think it would be pay benefits to Southbridge if I went to that meeting. I've gone every year for 25 years.
Most of the council and the town managers council have been attending MMA meetings at the expense of the town. So that's pretty standard. Are you all set, Counselor? Thank you. Counselor Clements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't have a problem with any of the, here you go. I didn't have a problem with the Section 5 issues. I thought especially since approval for things was by the council. So certainly if there's a request, it'll have to go through us anyway, Councilor Vandal. So we do have control over the education side of it and stuff, so I think that's very good.
I understand that, but
Right.
if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have, I would feel safer.
Right. But as they said, it's standard. So I don't have a problem with that. I do, moving down though, and the MMA being very informative, I think certainly it's definitely a positive for any any manager, regardless of how limited time they're going to be here. There are new rules, regulations that come up yearly that you can take back the information to the town, to the council, other members. So I think it's very valuable if you have the opportunity to attend. The vehicle may be used for personal use by manager. I don't agree with either. I think the diminished use is better. I think if you're coming back and forth from Leicester, that makes sense. But when it's the weekend, when it's on your own personal time, I would be concerned about using a town vehicle and the potential for having an accident or something on your own personal, time. So I do have a problem with that particular line.
What?
If you want to respond to it. The vehicle may be used for personal use by the manager.
Right. Again, I think that is standard, and I understand your concerns. I think we're just talking about, if I was driving back home and stopped at a grocery store, that type of thing.
Oh, I have no problem with that. Diminished use, I think is the term.
Very, very limited on weekends.
Diminished use.
For personal use, I would definitely
You have
be
no
using my
intention.
own car.
Super. I just, that is a line that would bother me too. So whether there's something, if you can put the diminutive use in there or something else, I'm not sure. But if not, I think Mr. Reed has shown his intentions. Thank you.
Councilor Vandal?
You said from Leicester. He doesn't live in Leicester.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm just thinking
How
about
many
you.
miles do you?
Medway, excuse me, Medway.
How many miles is it from Southbridge? Where do you live?
I'm not sure. It's a slightly longer commute than Leicester was. Not that, maybe 5 minutes more, I believe. I would, get off at the Auburn exit, another 10 or 15 minutes to the town hall. Here, I just get off in
But for
Sturbridge.
mileage, you don't.
I hate to guess. I can think about it. I'm thinking maybe 40.
Thank you.
Councilor Carrasco?
To just answer one of Councilor Vandal's, it's 48 miles one way from Medway to here.
How many miles?
48. I am a little concerned. I understand Mr. Clark has stated that this is, moving forward, this has been something that's been in place. But I think if we can change it now for the interim, I think if there is sections that need to be changed, again, I am in agreement with Section 6, number B, in regards to the vehicle for personal use. Honestly, I do not like that line at all. Second, if we look at the salary that he's making great money to be here for 20 hours. He's making at least $330 a day. For our community, that's probably a week's paycheck for some of our residents. Understanding the responsibility and what he's going to be doing, I understand that. But when you add another vehicle, when you add the vehicle to travel 48 miles one way, 48 miles the other way, now you're going to be adding at least another or $150 a week on gas. So in reality, the expense to the council and to the town of Southbridge is not going to be $1,000. We're looking at anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 for his contract. When you do the tolls, when you do all gasoline expenses. So if we can alter some of these points, and regardless, I understand it's an interim, but let's save our town some money in the process. I don't think we have to break the bank just because Mr. Clark's leaving. I think we have a finance director that can fill his shoes, which will be filling his shoes for 2 other days. So again, not to add to our workload, but it's unfortunate the position we're in. So I just want to, if we can, let's revise this. That's all I have.
Councilor Carrasco, are you stating then in Section 6 you would be more comfortable, even though Mr. Reed said he would not be using it for personal use on the weekends? Do you want to amend this and have it state that? Or I don't even know if this is something we can do because it's...
Just,
not sure if this is
if
a
I could,
legal item.
if I could make a suggestion. I think if what I hear, I think Mr. Reed probably drives similar to me. I drive a nicer car that I personally drive, so on the weekends I drive my own vehicle. But if you put in there de minimis personal use, what that means is that he can basically only on the way home. If he stops off for milk or stops off for whatever, he can use it for that de minimis personal use. That would actually benefit him because now he's not going to be taxed on having the vehicle available to him as a commuting vehicle. So I think it sounds like there's agreement on that, so you can insert the word de minimis personal use.
Yeah, I think you've explained it well, Chris. I mean, it's for, I guess you could say for my protection, don't want to be criticized because I stopped at the supermarket to get some milk on the way home or something like that. As far as the salary, I am limited as to what I can make because of, my being retired. I think if you looked at it another way and costed it out, I'm actually making less money than I was when I was in Leicester. I'm a little biased here, but I think you're getting a good deal. If I wasn't limited as to how much I could make because of my retirement circumstances, I'd be asking for more.
Thank you. Councilor Nicola.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that the idea of an interim manager is that, with all due respect to Karen Harnoy, she has a full-time job. And it's more than just adding a little to her plate to give her for 5 days a week the town manager's responsibilities. She gets paid to do a specific job, and I'd rather her do that job, and if she has to fill in for 2 days a week, that's fine, but to take over the town manager's responsibilities 5 days a week is not the way I'd like to see us go. This is a very good employment agreement, and I have to agree with you, Mr. Reed, that it is a bargain. I've been in this position more times, unfortunately, than I care to think about, and I think it's fine. And I think the fact that you're willing to make some compromises is good. It says a lot. So I'm perfectly comfortable and will support this. Thank you.
We also have to keep in mind, Council, that it's going to be budget time pretty soon, and Karen is going to be in over her head with that too, so it's something to take into consideration. Councilor Peliquin.
Thank you, Councilor Marcucci. My one concern with this, and I do agree with what you did say about the finance director's workload and the importance of her paying attention to the budget process and everything. My one concern is in Section 1. It says the acting town manager shall perform the duties specified in the special act, and other such duties shall be from time to time legally assigned to him. Under the Southbridge Home Rule Charter, the town manager position is a very strong manager position, and I think looking back at our previous track record with interim town managers, and in no way do I mean to sort of cast any sort of aspersions to your qualifications, which look excellent. It's just, with the side letter to the Casella agreement that was very controversial, and the purchase of the land that the DPW barn is located on now, I personally would feel more comfortable to have Ms. Harnoys be officially, for legal purposes, the acting town manager, and bring on Mr. Reed as the acting assistant town manager, just in terms of Mr. Reed not having the unilateral authority to amend contracts without coming before the council. Ms. Harnoys is a very long-term employee that I believe everybody on the council knows and trusts, and we know that she's a consummate professional, and this is the first time I've met Mr. Reed, and the town manager position in Southbridge is incredibly huge. It's a really big responsibility, and I wouldn't want Ms. Harnoys to have all of that responsibility on her own, but at the end of the day, I would feel more comfortable if it was Ms. Harnoys, and then Mr. Reed was coming in 3 days a week to take over more of the administrative work so she can focus on the budget, but for all intents and purposes, she would remain the acting town manager.
I believe in some of the discussions that we had, Counselor, unofficially, they are going to work together, and I do not believe that contracts of that magnitude would be signed without council's knowledge. So I just want you to feel very comfortable with that, that we have discussed that at length. And the town manager has also enlightened Mr. Reed to certain situations in town and sake for a better word, the larger issues that we have in the community. So it will be something that will be discussed with Mr. Reed, Ms. Harnois, and the council. But I can guarantee you nothing will be signed without our approval. Okay? Councilor, are you all set, Councilor? Councilor Moriarty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. More or less, my main issue of contention here is similar to what a few others had brought up. And while the current manager's suggestion as far as altering the language is one thing, personally, I do even rather just kind of see it set up where Mr. Reed is able to bring in his own vehicle to town, to and from work each day, receive a per diem or some sort of reimbursement on that end, and while in town, be able to use the outgoing manager's town vehicle for the official business that way, just for numerous reasons in terms of cost savings and wear and tear on the vehicle. To me, it makes sense. Granted, I'm not the one who's doing it, but 100 miles commute each time coming in adds up pretty quickly, and that sort of a thing. And so that's my main issue at the moment. Is I'd rather see the manager, the acting manager rather, come in using his own vehicle, be reimbursed for that wear and tear on his own vehicle, whether that's a per diem rate or mileage or what have you, and then while in town, while working for the town, being able to use the town car, but otherwise for the commute and personal business, even on his way home, grabbing that bottle of milk, being able to use his own vehicle. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Councilor
Madam
Mann.
Chair, through you. Just a couple things. Could you please clarify when Karen Harnois is the acting town manager, she has the same powers as Mr. Clark?
I believe the charter, I see council has the charter open, but I believe from recollection, in the absence of the town manager, the finance director acts in that capacity. So if Mr. Reed is not available or he's out of town and an issue comes up, someone can go to the finance director as acting town manager, especially if he has 3 days that are established that he will be here, 2 days that he's not, then you would go to the finance director and she would serve that capacity as acting town manager.
Okay, thank you. And also, in regards to cost savings for the vehicle and Mr. Reed potentially bringing his own personal vehicle to and from Southbridge, I'm not sure where I would see a cost savings there, as he's going to be reimbursed for gasoline and tolls and whatnot. It's basically going to be the same. That's the way I would see it. I mean, so I would be for making that one amendment to the last line item in section 6, part B, where the vehicle may be used for personal use by the town manager. I would see the recommendation from the town manager making that amendment for de minimis.
You add the word de minimis,
Yes,
Latin
yes,
for
okay.
minimal use.
Yes, for minimal use, okay. And I would be in favor of that, but I don't see a cost savings if he was to bring his own vehicle to and from Southbridge to the town, if we're reimbursing him for gas and tolls and whatnot. So that's my view.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Clemens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the comments made by the former Councilor Peliquin, in terms of, and correct me if I'm wrong because I was not on council back then, but there were things that happened obviously under managers and under interim managers, purchases of such, and that, but it is my understanding in the 4 years I've been here, anytime there's been a large purchase or a large contract signed or anything, at some point in time it comes up for council vote. So ultimately, we can blame a town manager or interim town manager, but ultimately it's the council who sits and votes at that time. I shouldn't say the word blame, but or lay responsibility on them. But the reality is that everything we do up here, everything that is done from the town manager that has any substance is brought to the town council. So technically, we are in charge of those decisions. They might get, it might get convincingly sent to us. You know, they might be just, you know, given to us in such a form that we might believe what we're being told, but it's still council duty to do their due diligence and make sure that their decision and their vote is for the right thing, or for the good of the town. So ultimately, interim or not, you know, it's up to the council who resides at that point. So with any luck, there have been some bad decisions in the past, and we can learn from those and make some better ones for the future. I just wanted to be clear that the people out there realize it's not the independent ability of the town manager or the finance director, for that matter, to make these decisions. It is based on us councilors who sit up here. Thank you.
Councilor Carrasco?
Just through you, Madam Chair, I'm kind of confused in regards to the statement that Councilor Manna made in regards to the reimbursement of mileage, gas, and tolls. When I drive to Worcester, I don't get reimbursed gas or tolls. My company will give me mileage. I don't see any difference. I understand his position, I understand his title, but I wouldn't be reimbursing him for gas or tolls. I think it would be a courtesy to reimburse him for mileage. I mean, I think it's time for us to, as a council, look at this and say, this is a moment where we can save some money for our taxpayers, for our city, for our town. Again, it's nothing against Mr. Reed. It's we have a bunch of individuals that live out of town and are using our town money. Nothing against that, but again, I think this is something that we need to look at, and as a council, and look into it and say, this is something that we can save some money. I would definitely not be in favor of the town vehicle being used for personal use or even diminished use. I'm in favor with the suggestion that Councilor Moriarty brought, that he can drive here and take the vehicle, use it around town, and when he goes home, he's in his own personal vehicle. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Calaquin?
Just to clarify to my previous comments, I was specifically talking about the ability to amend contracts, like the side letters. But that was my only concern. So, thanks.
Mr. Clark?
There's a lot of different ways I want to go, but I'm going to be good. You know, some of the references that were made, the purchase of the DPW barn was referenced as something the manager did on his own in the acting capacity. It was signed off by the council. The clarification letters are basically clarifications on an agreement that was signed by the council. The charter is very clear. It's actually, I think, only 2 lines in the different sections. The manager can enter into contracts. So yes, absolutely positively the manager enters into contracts, but the contracts have to be ratified by the council. So nobody does it alone. So, you know, I just, in terms of this, you know, I'm going to give some friendly advice. There's 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. You probably have, I think when I looked it up, Southbridge is probably close to the top 100 in terms of size for communities. You're talking about trying to attract a person to come into this community that probably has a skill set of 1 out of, you know, realistically a good professional, 1 out of 100. And I know you may think that saving, you know, the money that you're saving here is a good thing, but you have to look in the long term. Quality counts. You want to bring in a quality person to get quality results. Because I will tell you, it doesn't take too long for an unskilled manager to come in and lead this town down into something that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, you know, you're squabbling over a fairly small amount of money to guarantee yourself a 30-year professional for the next 6 months. And I think you should take that to heart, that you're talking about a small amount of money to guarantee yourself a 30-year professional. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, we are running a little late this evening, and we do have a meeting that was supposed to be starting at 7 o'clock. With that,
Motion to adjourn the council of the whole?
thank you, Counselor. Do I have a second? Motion a second. All in favor? Unanimous of all present. Mr. Reed, thank you very much for coming
you.
this evening
Thank you all
and your
very much.
patience. Thank you. It is 7:12, and we are in now to our Town Council meeting, December 16th, 2013. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councillor Carrasco?
Present.
Councillor Clements?
Present.
Councillor Manna?
Present.
Councillor Marcucci?
Present.
Councillor Moriarty?
Present.
Councillor Nicola?
Present.
Councillor Peliquin?
Present.
Councillor Vandal? 8 here, 1 excused.
Thank you. Consider and accept the Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, December 2nd. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Unanimous
Abstain.
of all present, and one abstention, that's Councilor Moriarty. Agenda item number 4, Subcommittee Reports, General Government. Councilor Nicola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 2 meetings that, of the General Government Subcommittee that were held. I'm going to ask for some guidance from you. Seeing as both of these meetings had to do, one with the bylaws and one with the sign bylaw, and those 2 items are on the agenda for voting for the first reading this evening, would you like me to read through these minutes now or wait until we have those votes? Because they are clarifying the changes that are in the bylaws. Now or later?
Probably at the agenda item, if council does not have a problem with that.
Okay, I just don't want to be redundant and do it again.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. And I don't have any meetings scheduled.
All right. B, DPW, Councilor Vandal.
No report, no meeting scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you. C, Education and Human Services. We had a meeting Monday, November 25th, that was held in the George Parent Community Room. In attendance were myself, Councilor Manna, Moriarty, Town Manager Clark, Citizen Member Leanne Pate. Councilor Clemens was excused. Called the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Agenda item number 1, vote to appoint Nitza Diaz to the Council on Aging for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2016, and to submit to Council for ratification. A motion was made by Councilor Manna, seconded by Citizen Member Pate. Mr. Clark stated that Ms. Diaz is a middle-aged woman who was a home health aide and has done a lot of work with the elderly. She is of Latina descent, which helps bridge the communication gap. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 2, vote to appoint Susan Chaplin to the Council on Aging for a 2-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2015, to fill a vacancy due to the resignation of a member and to submit to Council for ratification. Motion was made by Councilor Manna, seconded by Citizen Member Pate. Town Manager Clark stated that Ms. Chaplin is a retired librarian. She thought it was time to transition into something different. Mr. Clark also stated that staggered terms are supposed to be maintained, which is why one term is a 3-year and one term is a 2-year. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Motion to adjourn was made by, I believe, Councilor Manna, seconded by Citizen Member Pate. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor. Meeting was adjourned at 6:34 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Justine French, Recording Clerk, and I do not have another meeting scheduled at this time. D, Planning and Development, Councilor Clemens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had no meeting minutes to read, and there is no meeting scheduled at this time.
Thank you. And E, protection of person and property. Councilor Moriarty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is no report and no meeting scheduled this time. I do have one just kind of, I guess, request, and this is actually just refers to Councilor Nicola's General Government Subcommittee. Just in terms of the notes, the minutes rather, there are a couple votes where it just, you can probably get to this when you get to it, I guess, but there are a couple times where there were not unanimous votes, and the minutes reflect that it was 4 in favor, 1 opposed, or 3 and 2, what have you, but it doesn't state whom was on which side, and I just as a, usually I believe we do show who that is, and I'd just like to have that rectified if we can. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And agenda item number 5, Chairman's announcements. The only announcement I have this evening, just like to thank everyone with the snowstorm that we had over the weekend. I think the town and the citizens and our DPW department did a fantastic job. And from what they're saying, it looks like we might have another snowstorm tomorrow. So I just ask all the business leaders in the community and even the citizens, if you go out and shovel what's in the front of your home, it would make it so much safer for the people that walk. And I really want to thank everyone because everyone did do a great job. That's it. Number 6, town manager's announcements. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have several this evening. The first one that I have is in regards to the WRTA ridership. We actually started off when the ridership started with WRTA, with the primary stop being at the college over on Optical Drive and at the library. We actually started in January. Those numbers were about 75 rides, and now it has been averaging close to 2,000 per month. So I think that venture of going down to try to attract and have folks be able to take the bus has proven itself to be a fairly successful venture. And just wanted to kind of report on that. I think I did have a request to do so. Also, I did receive some information from the health director that we have closed due to the snow, the leaf and yard waste dumpsters located at DPW will be removed and will be replaced when weather allows in the springtime. There is an option for folks to use the landfill at 165 Barefoot Road every Saturday from 7 a.m. to noon. So if they do have yard waste, there is a mechanism to be able to remove it. And then the next couple on the, we received the Southbridge Commission on Disabilities. Just wish to thank folks that they had a presentation, a networking fair, and they had 24 different agencies were represented, and they had a pretty good turnout at that. I think that was back in November, so I just wanted to officially thank the groups that participated in that. The next one is we had at our last meeting setting of the tax rate, and we did get approved by the Department of Revenue. There was one minor technical change that they asked to have in it, but for the most part it was clean, and we received our approval in a timely fashion. And then I do have just two last ones. The first is last Monday I attended a meeting over in the town of Charlton that I would characterize as more of a staged event than a meeting. I did, and it was reported accurately in the newspaper, but it was not stated accurately by myself, that at that event last Monday, I was asked to participate. I was asked to have the council participate. I did invite the chair and the vice chair. It was a meeting during the day. It was a meeting on a Monday, and we did not have an opportunity. They were both working, and they did not have an opportunity to accompany me. I unfortunately said in the meeting that I invited the entire council. That was not accurate. I just invited the chair and the vice chair, and I would say that I had not made up my mind as to whether I would attend that event or not because it was a staged event until that Monday morning. So it was something that, from my perspective, was very much a last-minute item. At the event, Basically, what the town, Southbridge, has been asking for is for technical work to be done to see if we can provide water to the residents in Charlton. And the outcome of that meeting after 2 hours was to basically schedule another meeting, this time with technical people in the room, to try to go through and see, is it possible, feasibly possible, to provide water in a safe manner to the town of Charlton. The problem is we had assumed that Charlton would have a great number of users, and we would provide water to this great number of users, and that has not happened. Their connection rates that we have now in the IMA area, they told us it would be 100%, it's 48%. So that low number has left a lot of water in the pipes. I did attend the meeting primarily to assist Baypath. Having Baypath get water would be a functional improvement to the system and would benefit Baypath, and quite honestly continue to be stunned and amazed that the town of Charlton adamantly refuses to assist Baypath in that venture, to take that step and assist the school. And quite honestly, here we're talking about saving money. $300,000 would be saved by making this decision now. So I don't know how many times or how many ways I can say the same thing, do the right thing and hook these people up, but they operate a little differently in Charlton. Suffice to say that. I would say, just in terms of that, again, I've put a lot of time and energy into the agreement, into the offer that we have sent. I think it is a fair and equitable agreement for the town of Southbridge, and to be honest, I would not deviate a heck of a lot from it. A lot of effort has gone into that. From a legal perspective and from an engineering perspective. I know my engineer is in the audience. And then lastly, this is my last council meeting, and I did want to just say a little bit. I've never been much on speaking for myself. I certainly don't brag about myself. But I certainly do wish to thank from the bottom of my heart really all members of the past and current council. I was thinking, I think there's only 2 that have been here when I first started. Kathy and Conrad have been here for my entire tenure. So hopefully you've found it to be a reasonably good experience. But I certainly, they're both looking at me. But you know, it is a good town. It's a very good town. I've very much enjoyed being the manager in the community. I know in the newspaper it came out that, you know, I was leaving because of a changing of the guard. You know, quite honestly, I stopped counting at the changing of the guard. They've had a lot of changes to the guard since I've been here. That is just part and parcel. The reason for my departure was exactly what I had laid out. To look and see what other opportunities were available, and I got, as my building inspector would say, an offer that I couldn't refuse from another town. And that's really the reason, for professional reasons, why I'm leaving, and really for personal reasons as well. But in my time here, I take great pride in the fact that I've been able to help the community and the council navigate the town through the Great Recession without any layoffs on the town side. I think we have done a great job, not just myself, but the department heads and the finance team, to create some real strong financial stability for the community. I'm very, very proud of that fact. Also, one of the best projects I think I had the opportunity to work on was the dedicated team of individuals that it took to complete the new middle high school in this community, and that's really what it was. It was a cooperative effort with a dedicated team of people. Nobody does this job by themselves, and I just thought that was a great project and one that came to a good fruition. I'm also proud of the construction of Commercial Drive and the economic possibilities that presents to the community. I've always found it a little bit morally offensive that we have a higher unemployment rate than we should, and in comparison to other cities and towns in the area. And I think that the town council, and certainly as town manager, I tried to be very focused on trying to progress the community forward to create those economic opportunities for our residents. Everybody deserves a job. And then I do wish to just personally thank all the department heads and employees of the town of Southbridge. I think this is a great organization, and I hope that in my time here that at a minimum I've tried to sustain that. At a maximum, hopefully I improved it during my time. And then lastly, it really has been an honor and a privilege to serve the residents of Southbridge. I have enjoyed coming to work. It has been a challenging community at times, but it's also been a very rewarding time as the town manager here, and I think that this is a great town. And lastly, I'm going to do this, and I don't think I've ever really had the opportunity to do it, but I have a lot of people say to me, how do you do your job, and it must be a difficult job. Certainly it is a very, very difficult job, one that I don't think everyone is always up to the challenge. But my wife is actually in the back of the room, my wife Stacy, who I've been married to for 22 years. And quite honestly, there are some days that I go home and it's her that keeps me centered and keeps me leveled. And I just think the world of my wife. Would do anything. I've gone to Kansas and back for her. So I just wanted to kind of publicly thank her. And as folks may know, I was the chairperson of my church, so I also wish to just thank God for giving me the opportunity to do the service that I've been able to do to this community, and I thank him for that opportunity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Agenda item number 7, swearing in presentations. Nana Bees, Tees. Is there a representative from Nana Bees? Good evening.
So this is all new to us, speaking to you all, and thank you for inviting us here tonight. It's great to see kind of this whole thing in action. This is Bridget. She is Nana B, and she's opened a tea room here in town. I'm going to ask her just to give you first the inspiration for opening the tea room, and then she's got a bit of a head cold, so she asked me to kind of give a little bit of background on what it is, what we offer, and that type of thing. So would you talk about the inspiration?
Well, I had a dream, and I wanted to open a tea room in America. And I did. I did in Connecticut. And I did it illegally. I didn't know. I didn't open a tea room. I opened catering for the discriminating taste. And it was going to your home, doing silver service for afternoon teas. And I would set up a beautiful buffet, all silver service, linens. I supplied flowers, china, music, and it went down very well. I even did the governor's mansion when Roland was the governor for the West Hartford League of Women. So anyway, I moved to Massachusetts to my daughter in Charlton, and it was always on my mind to do it again. And I found a fantastic location at 12 Crane Street, and I know there have been many ups and downs in the Hopvine Cafe, but I transformed it into a beautiful, beautiful tea room. I wanted to have somewhere with peace and tranquility for somebody to go and listen to beautiful music, classical music, and have the linens and have the china, and to forget about the worries and get away from everyday life. But we went further than that. We have unbelievable lunches that obviously didn't get through. You know, with our advertising, it didn't come through that we do have lunches. And we specialize in paninis. Our chef happens to be Italian. And he's a pastry chef. And excuse me, can you take over, Ken?
Yeah,
sure. Sorry.
So I'm Bridget's son-in-law. This is my wife, Heidi. She's Bridget's daughter. We're just kind of helping her out with this project. And I guess there's three things we wanted, the three things part of the message we want to get out about Nana B's teas. The first one is that there's just an unbelievable amount of teas. How many teas do we have?
We have over 20 varieties of tea.
So if you like tea and you like different varieties of tea, it's fantastic. My favorite is Paris. It's got a little bit of a hint of, what's that?
It's bergamot.
It's called bergamot.
He doesn't know what it is.
I don't know what it is. It tastes good. I'm not a big tea guy, but I'm a coffee guy. But then, so we've got great coffee too. So fresh ground Mystic Coffee Roasters coffee. So a lot of really nice hot afternoon drinks and snacks. So the tea room part of it is a big deal, and Bridget has really created a wonderful menu around that. Sandwiches, scones, cookies. She brought some cookies here tonight for everyone to try. The second aspect is really the chef. She talked a little bit about the chef and the fact that we've added to the fare. We've got paninis and soups and quiche and just a wonderful group of sandwiches and things for lunch. Thursday nights we're open late for specials, and the chef loves to make his specials. He makes a salmon special. He makes chicken cacciatore and a bunch of different other specials. Really great stuff. So that's the second thing, is that it's a full menu. We're open from Wednesday through Sunday. Sunday morning, he offers crepes for breakfast and a lot of different fare. The third thing is really just that because of the space, we're able to host events. There's a lot of space for, wedding showers, engagement parties, baptism parties, or whatever else you think. We can seat, how many? Business meetings too, so business meetings for anyone.
We have 2 private dining areas that can be rented, but the entire facility seats about 70 people, including those 2 other areas.
So those are really the 3 things. We don't want to take up too much more time, but just wanted to present to you the idea of Nana B's Teas. It's a dream that started in Ireland. And has moved to America, and I think it's a gem. It's a great idea, and it's been very successful so far. A lot of people are very interested in it, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Councilor Clements?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to mention, we've eaten there. We ate there on a Thursday night, and the chef was excellent, and he was very personable, too, so that was wonderful. But you have a website, yes? So people can follow you?
Yeah, nanabt.com is the website. And I mentioned one more thing about the chef. He makes amazing pastries. We've got a full pastry case. He's Italian, so he just loves to pipe cannolis. And we actually had someone say that his cannolis were better than Mike's Pastry in Boston, which is saying a lot. So,
and they also have wine and Irish coffees and things like that, too.
Right.
So it's not just tea.
Wine. And with tea and with coffee, the other thing my wife just reminded me of is we have free Wi-Fi. So if you have a laptop and we have a nice couch sitting area, you want to come in and just have a cup of coffee and use the Wi-Fi and do some work, you're free to do so. So thank you, Denise. I appreciate that.
Excuse me, 1 second. We also brought some goodies, not knowing that Chris was leaving. So they're in your reception room, so you can all try some of our wares. I'm famous for my shortbread. So I made 4 different kinds of shortbread you might enjoy. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor
Thank you all
Nicola?
very much.
Just have a couple more questions.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Hi, just for detail purposes, for myself. You're open Monday through Sunday. What are your hours of operation?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
did I
sorry,
say
Wednesday
Wednesday through
I've got
Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday.
So Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 6. We add 2 hours on Thursday, so we're open on Thursday from 11 to 8. And then Sunday, we're open at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for listening.
Anyone else?
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none? 7B, new ride, Melissa Stanley, Outreach Coordinator.
Hi there. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm the Outreach Coordinator with Mass Rides, which is the statewide travel options program of the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. Mass Rides is designed to help reduce traffic congestion, improve air quality, and mobility. To accomplish these goals, Mass Rides works with both employers and commuters within the Commonwealth to promote the use of commute options. Commute options, or green trips, are those that reduce the number of solo drivers on our roads and include carpooling, vanpooling, biking, walking, public transit, or telework. Our focus is to partner with employers because they have the most influence on their commuting employees and have the power to effectuate the workplace culture, environment, work hours, and location. Through hands-on worksite assistance, ride matching services, marketing, and outreach events, Mass Rides annually offers our 325 statewide partners and 465,000 commuters time and money-saving solutions for a better commute in Massachusetts. The 2 core programs we offer to assist our partners in encouraging their employees to shift their modes of travel are New Ride and Emergency Ride Home. New Ride is our online ride matching and ride reward database. Commuters who sign up for New Ride can find carpool partners they work with and who live near them. Additionally, New Ride offers rewards for commuters who log their green trips. These rewards include restaurant coupons and discounts from local and national retailers, maybe even Nana Bees. New Ride also provides measurements for work sites that include trips reduced and environmental impact. Mass Ride's Emergency Ride Home program supports employees who take a green trip to work at least twice a week with a free ride home if an unexpected emergency arises during the workday. Our worksite services include a robust outreach model that is designed to implement customized commute option programs that encourage employee participation. Additionally, we leverage the resources needed for carpool parking programs, bike racks, on-site transit pass sales, monthly promotions, transit and vanpool subsidies, pre-tax benefits, shuttle services, and incentives. Each year, we hold events that encourage our partners to participate in special statewide commuting promotions. These include Bay State Bike Week, Massachusetts Car Free Week, and the Massachusetts Eco Awards. The Eco Awards, or Excellence in Commuting Options Awards ceremony, recognizes employers that share our commitment to creating a more sustainable Commonwealth through employer-based commuter services and benefits. We are grateful for our partnership with the town of Southbridge and invite the business community here in Southbridge to work with us. I have information if anyone is interested, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation this evening. 7B, presentation, Senator Moore.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to join with you, although not for this particular occasion, because I think the at least my experience over the years that Chris Clark has been the town manager here in Southbridge, that we have had a very good, very positive working relationship. There are, I think, three groups that when they heard that Chris was planning to move, three groups or three opinions that were expressed. There are those who were disappointed that he was going to leave Southbridge, and I would count myself among that group. There were those that were happy for him for his professional advancement and opportunity to do that, and I guess there were those who were just happy that he was leaving. And so it was a variety of opinions, but I think for the most part, disappointment that he would not be with us another year. During the time that he's been here, he certainly was a trial by fire in the sense of the tornado that occurred, and fortunately he and a number of the town employees and department heads, as well as residents, really, I think, responded magnificently to that tragedy. And the recovery has been, I think, really reasonably positive for most of the folks in that. And I think Chris, certainly in the leadership that he provided during that time, was a very positive element. He mentioned in his remarks with his work on the middle high school, and I think in some measure we might not have had that facility had he not come up with some creative financing of how to deal with it in a way that the community felt they could afford it and could support it. And it certainly was a project that was very much needed in the community. So I think he can certainly take a good deal of the credit for coming up with the plan that ultimately succeeded. Certainly he's worked very closely with me on a project in town to continue to develop the Quinnebog Trail along with the town officials in Dudley to develop that as a recreational resource for the community. And finally, the other was that he was able to come up with a solution to our dilemma with regard to the registry of motor vehicles, that to find a facility in the town that the town owns and that the registry felt they could fit within their budget to come back into the downtown, which I think everybody supports their location to be in the downtown area to bring people into the commercial area to hopefully do some shopping as well as some dealing with the business of the registry. So I think in a number of ways, I'm sure there are many more that if he were to list all of his accomplishments with being the shy, modest individual that he is, he didn't list all of the achievements that he, along with the council over the years and along with a number of the department heads, were able to provide. So I think anytime we have a town official elected or appointed who has rendered extraordinary service, that deserves considerable recognition by all of us. And I have the pleasure of presenting Chris with a citation from the Massachusetts Senate. Representative Duran will be up here to present a House citation. Senate citations are worth more than House citations, I should point out, because we're the first branch of the legislature, and so we under the Constitution. So our citations mean more than the House. But it's a pleasure to present to Chris a citation in recognition of your dedicated service and commitment to the town of Southbridge, serving as town manager from 2008 to 2013, and our best wishes for continued success. And it's signed by our president, Therese Murray, and offered by myself, Richard Moore, as the senator for Southbridge. Congratulations, Chris.
He can never resist, but I do have to move the microphone up. I'll need to get that on. Senator Moore went over a lot of the accomplishments of Chris Clark while he was here, and so I won't rehash all of those, but what I will say is in the short time that I've been a representative here, I've gotten to know Chris. He's one of the first people I met when I came into town here. Upon being elected, he showed me around, he helped me out, he's been a great asset to me. And I just want to touch on one of the things that he said earlier while he was giving his kind of closing remarks, was that there are very few people that can actually do this job. And he's right about that. If you are an elected official, board members, as a selectman in the town of Spencer, I think we all know that it's very easy to find a bad administrator or somebody who's not maybe up to the task. And in the town of Southbridge, I don't want to say it was fortunate because I think you made your own luck here and you did the work to get not just a good town administrator, but a fantastic one. Chris has been a great manager for this town. As Senator mentioned, he's done a lot of things for this town. I think he'll be sorely missed by this town, and I know that I will miss you as well. But when I come down to the Cape, I expect a place to stay in that. So I want to, on behalf of the House, apparently these aren't worth quite as much, as the Senator keeps reminding everybody, but we do have a citation here from the House. It says, "Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincere congratulations to Chris Clark for your years of dedication and service as town manager in the town of Southbridge. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success the 16th day of December in 2013. Signed by Speaker of the House Robert DeLeo and myself, Peter Durant."
When I met with Chris Thursday evening for our regular meeting prior to a council meeting, Chris had seen the agenda. And obviously, it had Senator Moore and State Rep Durant on it, and myself. And he said, "You know, Darlene, take it easy on me Monday." He knew something was up, but he didn't know. And I have to tell you, as a council member, I've served with Chris for the past 2.5 years, and he's a man that stands by his convictions, his honesty. He always had an open-door policy with any council member or any citizen in the town of Southbridge. He's a man of great faith, which I think equals to the successor that he is. He's had a number of projects that he has completed in the past 2.5 years, and I'm sure this council will attest to, that former town managers put on the back burner because it was too big, it was too large, it was too complicated. They didn't want to take that on. Chris took it on, and he completed the projects for our community. We as a council wish him nothing but the best. Hardwick will be in a great place when Chris takes over as their manager. I wish him well, and Godspeed. Thank you, Chris. That's on behalf of the entire council. We wish you good luck. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, agenda number 8, Citizens Forum. Are there any citizens that want to come up to the podium and speak to something that is not on tonight's agenda?
Good evening. Kevin Buxton, 257 Elm Street. I plan on keeping it very brief tonight. It is that time of year that we can't forget to emphasize the fact that wrapping paper, Christmas cards are all recyclable. Maybe it's time to start a new family tradition of when you're opening presents or something like that on Christmas morning. Doesn't need to be folded flat, or it can stay crumpled up, but make sure it goes to the recycling bin, not our trash bags. That being said, looking forward to 2014, I know this council has emphasized a phrase for its administration of moving forward. For 2014, I hope we can look forward to further progress as far as the landfill issue goes, as far as lifespan, job creation, and other emphasis. Like I said, I'll keep it short. I was here the night Mr. Clark was appointed town manager, and I'm happy to say I'm here tonight to see him move on. The night he was appointed, I shook his hand and optimistically said good luck, because I know it was a difficult position. And once again, I wish him best of luck in an optimistic manner on his new endeavors. I'd just like to say happy holidays to everyone, and look forward to the new year, and thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Sir?
My name is Richard Snyder. Now, you all know about my previous concerns. I have another one thanks to an article I read in the Southbridge News that I got in the mail the other day concerning signs, the bylaw signs or something like that. Oftentimes, I could come up Charlton to Vinton Street, but the sign for Vinton Street is just like the moon. It seems to shift around. I believe a big yellow sign, just like what's on Worcester Street, would be appropriate there. I also feel that for traffic going the other way should have a stop sign there, because there's some shrubbery on private property that obscures the view of those cars. Even during the day, that is dangerous. You can't see them coming. I would also ask that those yellow signs in black print be put in place so I can see that sign at night. And also a stop sign on Charlton going towards the Rotary be put there so that cars coming down past that shrubbery will see it and stop. That area is just, excuse me, that area is just as dangerous as those mergers. So I'm not letting go of the merge idea. That's still a good idea. It could be a quick fix until springtime arrives, and they could do something better with those mergers, and eliminate the merge altogether. But that phenomenon that I see coming up Charlton, approaching Vinton Street, it's just like the moon. It dances around, depending on which way you're going. And for that reason, I don't particularly like to use Charlton Street at night. But during the day, I will use it to come home or to go to the big wide plaza. And my other concern in that area is traffic coming down on the left you can't see them because of that shrubbery that's there. That's on private property. Now, I don't think there's much the council can do except go over there with a match and burn it. But that won't happen. Just get a stop sign for that traffic also. The sign for Vinton Street could be placed directly across Vinton Street where it can be seen.
Okay. Excuse me, Ms.
That's all I have to say, and thank you for listening.
The town manager will discuss that with our DPW head.
Someone's going to have to tell me later when I can hear it.
Okay, we'll talk to them. Thank you. Okay? Merry Christmas.
I can't hear or understand anything anybody
Okay.
says through the speakers.
All right. Thank you
Well,
very
anyway,
much,
thank you
Mr.
for
Snyder.
talking.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens? Seeing none? Agenda item number 9, vote to appoint Susan Chaplin to the Council on Aging for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Clevens?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 10, vote to appoint Nitza Diaz to the Council on Aging effective immediately for a 2-year term to expire June 30th, 2015 to fill a vacancy due to a member resignation. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, roll call, I'm sorry.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
Counselor Clemens?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 11, vote to ratify the employment agreement between the Town of Southbridge and Robert Reed as acting town manager to perform the duties specified in the special act effective January 2nd, 2014 through June 30th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
No.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
No.
Counselor Vandal?
No.
Counselor Crosco?
No.
Counselor Clemens?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
4 yes, 4 no.
Motion does not pass. Agenda item number 12, vote to approve the proposed signed bylaw changes as discussed and approved at General Government Subcommittee on December 9th, 2013. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? Kathy, I think I'm going to, Counselor Nicole, I'm going to turn it over to you. Maybe it would be point to read.
Thank you. This is the minutes of the General Government Subcommittee that were on Monday, December 9th. A meeting of the General Government Subcommittee was held on Monday, December 9th, 2013, in the George Parent Conference Room. In attendance were myself, citizen members Holly Christo and Michael Janes. Also in attendance were Councilor Peliquin, Councilor Carrasco, Town Manager Clark, and Evelyn Petrelli. Councilor Moriarty was excused. That should be in these minutes. I called the meeting to order at 7 p.m. The one and only agenda item was to continue the discussion on the proposed signed bylaw changes and vote to submit to council for ratification. This was for the first reading that we will have this evening. Mr. Clark did an overview of the signed bylaw, and Mr. Clark said that what they are trying to do is to give guidance to citizens who want to put up a sign. These are guidelines that people can follow. Councilor Carrasco and Mr. Janes questioned the 10% signage on storefront windows. Mr. Clark explain that there is a grandfather clause, but if any remodeling is done, they have to comply with the new bylaw. Councilor Carrasco would like to see the storefront signage increased to 50%. A motion was made by Holly Christo and seconded by Michael Janes to change Section 9, 202-5, number 4, and Section 9-202-6F from 10% of the glass on storefront windows to 25% of the glass. There was a vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 3-0. A motion was made by Michael Janes and seconded by Holly Christo to change Section 9-202-5A1 to read, quote, alternating open information, that's as in open or closed, time and/or temperature signs. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 3-0. A motion was made by Holly Christo and seconded by Michael Janes to accept the changes to the proposed sign bylaw and submit to council for ratification. This is for the first reading. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 3-0. A motion was made to adjourn by Holly Christo, seconded by Michael Janes. All in favor, 3-0. We adjourned at 8:20 p.m. These were really the only changes made to the proposed sign bylaw. That's all this is. But we have the sign bylaw. Otherwise, was fine. So that's it.
That's that one.
Yep.
Thank you, Counselor. Does anyone have any questions? Counselor, yeah, Counselor Clemens? Oh, go ahead, Counselor.
I was excused also that night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Clemens?
Thank you. I wasn't able to make that meeting, but there's only one thing that I was hoping that perhaps could be changed, and I discussed it with Mr. Clark, and he thought that they had changed it, but I don't see it on here, and that was the Section 9202-6 under temporary signs, number G, letter G was sandwich boards, and the new bylaw states that they're 2x4, and a 2x4 sandwich board is, if you can imagine, 2x4 is just not very wide, and recommended would have been minimum of 32 inches, and you wonder why? Well, a 4x8 sheet of plywood, as my husband likes to say, can be cut into 3 sections with less waste. I would have just said at least a 3x4. I think a 2x4 sandwich board is very narrow, and I don't know that there's any that are going to comply with that currently, which puts at a great expense to many of the nonprofits and such that have them already, that have purchased them, had them designed and such. So I believe that a 3-foot or less, 3x4 or less, would be appropriate. And so I would request that as an amendment to, before we read, or however the appropriate measure is that we should take to do that, if so approved, or for consideration, whatever one. Thank you.
Counselor Moriarty?
Thank you. I was unable to attend that most recent General Government Subcommittee meeting. I did, however, send in an email with some of my thoughts, kind of last minute, and I've actually got a handful of amendments I'd like to make, and I've written them out for the ease of the council as well as the recording clerk. So I apologize in advance that there are a number of them, and again, I would have preferred to have done that at the subcommittee level, but circumstances were not allowing for that to happen. So the first amendment I would like to propose is really just a small modification to Section 9-2022, which currently has the current text reads in part, no sign shall be erected, altered, et cetera, without a permit issued by the building inspector. The amendment that I wanted to make was just inserting the word permanent, because technically, and I may be overly nitpicky on this, but technically, otherwise, a simple, any sign, in theory, again, common sense tells you otherwise, but common sense isn't so common. So I just wanted to insert the word permanent before sign there, because otherwise, if it's open to interpretation, it could just be an issue. I don't think it's a big issue, but just a small one.
Where is that?
That's under temporary. 9202, that's under temporary.
9-202-2,
It's not temporary. 6 is temporary.
yeah, I might have a typo there. So I'll withdraw that for the time being. 9-202-5, subsection A1, which is under, yes.
With all these changes, possible changes that you have, I appreciate all of them, but I think I'll refer to Councilor Nicola. Is this something we should be doing now? I mean, I hate to have it go back to subcommittee,
Right.
but it should be discussed because it looks like you have valid concerns.
Right, and so my concern is solely, I was otherwise unable to attend that last subcommittee meeting. I did send pretty much all of this at that point. Whether or not anybody saw it ahead of time or not, or it was discussed or not, at that meeting, I don't know, as I was not there. Seeing as how this is now up for vote on the council floor, unless it's going back to general government, this is the only opportunity, these next 3 readings, to make any such amendments. So if it's going back, then so be it, we can handle it there. If it's the council's purview to not send it back and essentially delay it, then the only course of action that I understand would be here.
Has
I have-
anyone seen this document
No.
prior to tonight's evening?
I received-
Tonight's meeting?
It came as an email.
As an email, but has everyone read it?
Well, if I might.
Go ahead.
I received this email at 5 minutes past 5 at work, and I leave work at 4:30, so I never got this email in time for my meeting.
So it was just something that you looked at and...
Yeah, well, no, I got it the day after my meeting. I don't know if you had it, because you did say you had that Councilor Moriarty had concerns, but we never had all of this. Did you have this?
I don't think it was written out this way.
Okay. So this was not presented during our subcommittee meeting. I guess, without trying to run the meeting for you, Madam Chair, I would recommend that we, once again, table this once again. The 2 council members of the subcommittee were not there. There were 2 councilors other than myself that were there. If people have concerns, people need to attend the meeting and do that. I understand that these 2 councilors were excused, but, really, this will be the 3rd time I hold a meeting on the signed bylaw. So this will be the last time I hold a meeting on the signed bylaw. If you want to make a motion to table this, and once again, I will call a 3rd meeting for the signed bylaw. You bring your stuff forward, we'll go over it, we'll vote on it, and then bring it back to council. I think that's the reasonable thing to do this evening. I don't feel we should be sitting here for 3 hours to discuss something that was supposed to go through subcommittee. Thank you.
Councilor Moriarty, you okay with that?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion to table agenda item number 12?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Council Moriarty?
Yes.
Council Nicola?
Yes.
Council Peliquin?
Yes.
Councilor Vandal?
Yes.
Councilor Crosco?
Yes.
Councilor Clements?
Yes.
Councilor Manna?
No.
Councilor Marcucci?
Yes.
7 yes, 1 no.
Thank you. And Councilor Nicola, you'll set up the meeting and everyone will be notified. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 13, vote to approve the proposed bylaw changes as prepared by the Bylaw Review Committee and review and approved at General Government Subcommittee meeting on November 25th, 2013. This is the first reading. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Do you want me to read through
Yes,
this?
Councilor.
Okay. I'm going to read the entirety of this General Government Subcommittee because there are items on this General Government Subcommittee. There's one other agenda item that needs to be read as well. A meeting of the General Government Subcommittee was held on Monday, November 25th in the George Parent Community Room. In attendance were myself, Councilors Vandal, Moriarty, citizen members Holly Christo, Mike Janes, Town Manager Clark, Councilor Marcucci, Manna, Langevin, Will Canoyer, Principal Assessor, and Chairman of the Bylaw Review Committee, Len Laporte. I called the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. The first agenda item was to vote to approve the contract between the Town of Southbridge and Virtual Towns and Schools for website design, implementation, annual maintenance of the town's website in the amount of $8,500 for design and implementation, and $3,500 for annual maintenance, and support to council for ratification. Please forgive me, my brain is starting to shut down. Did we already vote on that? The website? Okay, I'm not going through that one then. Moving on. Agenda item number 2, continuation of the discussion of the Bylaw Review Committee amended on October 3rd, 2013. I opened the floor up for discussion. Councilor Manor had a question about page 11, section 2-400, School Committee, section 2-401, Power. In general, she had looked at the charter and asked if the wording in the bylaws were changed. Would the wording in the charter have to be changed as well to be in compliance? I asked Mr. Laporte if they had the charter in front of them when they did the bylaws. He stated that they had the charter with them, and if needed to, they would go to it, but not as much. If they were rewriting the bylaws, they would not have gone to the charter to see how it was worded there. Mr. Laporte stated they feel the charter supersedes the bylaws. Councilor Manor said that her question is that if it is written in the charter a certain way and they changed the bylaw, then there will be a conflict of what is written in the charter. Mr. Laporte stated that the committee just made recommendations for the bylaws. Chairman Nicola stated the committee is trying to neaten up a lot of wordy stuff that doesn't have any place. It can be a little more abbreviated in the bylaw. Town Manager Clark stated that under state statute 32B, it is mandatory that health insurance be offered to elected officials, so that language has to be left as is because it mirrors state law. I stated to Mr. Laporte that if a person receives a stipend for serving on the town council or school committee, they are considered an employee of the town and therefore eligible for the same health benefits as any other town employee. Councilor Manor stated that on page 13, section 2-801, it should be Charter section 3-6-1, not Charter section 3-7-1. 3-7-1 is the Board of Assessors. I stated that that was a typo. Councilor Manor said that section 3-206 questioned in parentheses if it should be chapter 131, but she looked it up and it could be chapter 40. I said that that could be crossed out. Councilor Manor said that on section 3-207 regarding the gray area, she actually looked up Mass General Law and the terms are stated. Do you want to follow along with this? Are you following along with all of this? Yeah? Okay. Town Manager Clark said they have actually enforced them, that being Mass General Law. I asked Town Manager Clark at what point does he look at those terms. It says, I'm going to speak out of, I know what I said. I asked the town manager when he looks at those terms. In other words, if there is a vacancy on a board, does he look at all of the other members on the board to confirm that they are within their term limits? Are there term limits coming up? Will there be more vacancies coming up? And the manager stated that during the interview process, he takes out the section of the bylaw and reads it to the potential candidate or has them read it to identify what the duties and responsibilities are and to try and match up to see where the location is. I'm afraid I don't know what that means. There is also supposed to be a 7-member board that is supposed to rotate. Most of them are 3 years, so you don't have everyone going off all at the same time. In other words, they're staggered. the terms are all staggered so that we don't have everybody up for reelection or reappointment at the same time. When they fill vacancies, they usually look at the situation to see what that is. Councilor Manna said that regarding the gray area in Section 3-208.1, Commission on Disability, she looked up the Mass General Law, and the answer is yes. Regarding the gray area in Section 3-210.2, Historical Commission, the Mass General Law doesn't require any member skills. In Section 3-213, there is no number stated in the bylaw, but the Mass General Law does state not less than 3, not more than 7 members, and no qualifications are noted in the Mass General Law, so the bylaw is not consistent with Mass General Law. Mr. Laporte stated that following Mass General Law, Chapter 40C, Section 4, tells you how to constitute your local district study committee. Councilor Moriarty said he didn't recall anything being officially amended. He stated on page 9, Section 2-102, it should be registered instead of qualified. And that would be, well, I think if you have it in front of you, know what that is. Pertaining to page 19, Section 3-204, he asked Mr. Laporte why it was suggested that the name of the committee be changed to the Municipal Building Committee, but that nothing was actually changed other than the name. Mr. Laporte said that it was just a suggestion. Councilor Moriarty stated he would support the change, though. I said that I wasn't sure how to go about this. I stated in the past that when it came to the charter, we were advised, but disregarded the advice at the time. I'm not even sure what that means. This is an opportunity for the town to weigh in, and there may be some things we agree upon and some things that we don't agree upon. If everyone on this committee feels the Municipal Building Committee sounds better, maybe we should be making those adjustments now and bring it forward. Mr. Clark suggested that the document be voted and then make specific amendments to specific sections. He suggested approving the document with a list of amendments with recommendations for changes, and when it gets to council, there will basically be 2 votes. One with the list of amendments ready to go, based upon the report as submitted, so council won't have to go back through every one. The meeting minutes can be included with the amendments that the committee recommends based upon the discussion. I then asked Town Manager Clark how best to proceed. That sounds like it's redundant. Should a motion be made to change the Facilities Planning and Construction Committee to Municipal Building Committee and voted on with a show of hands, which is exactly what we did. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty to alter the name Facilities Planning and Construction Committee to the Municipal Building Committee, seconded by Citizen Member Janes. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 5-0. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty pertaining to Section 2-102 to disregard the recommendation and leave that section as originally written with the exception of the capitalizations, and seconded by Citizen Member Janes. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 5-0. Councilor Moriarty asked Mr. Laporte for clarification pertaining to Section 3-220.2 on page 25. The last sentence states, quote, "This section could be included in Board of Health," end quote. Mr. Laporte stated that it was just a suggestion. The paragraph is not listed under the Board of Health, and his committee thought it would be a good idea to list it in there. Mr. Clark stated that in zoning, it's actually allowed, and that it would be the commingling of 2 concepts, and he recommended that the sentence be stricken. I stated that no motion was needed. Councilor Moriarty brought up some housekeeping issues on page 39. There are 4 consecutive items that include a note that, quote, need to add to Mass General Law 40-57, or 40-57, end quote. Town Manager Clark stated the whole process is 40-57. Councilor Moriarty asked if it should be made a citation, and Town Manager Clark stated maybe at the very end. It doesn't need to be referred to in every single section. At the beginning of Section 5-102, it's in the text. I said that they could be deleted, and Mr. Clark said it was in gray, so it was just commentary. What this means to you folks out there is when we're looking at these bylaws, they're black. There's a section that's gray. That section was the bylaw review committee asking us, asking basically questions as to, well, what does this mean, or can we take this out? And then there was a red section, and that was the changes.
Those were the things taken out.
Those were the things taken out.
Highlighter where additions or changes.
You're right, thank you. The red section were the deleted items. The yellow highlighted sections were their recommended add-ins. So that's what that means. Let's see. Councilor Moriarty asked if the town had indeed accepted Mass General Law 40, Section 22F, and the manager said he would look it up. Also on page 42, there are more questions in the last sentence that need to be answered as well. Citizen Member Janes asked if these questions need to be answered before it goes to council. Mr. Clark stated, the ambulance charges are covered by policy, not by law, and there is no lien that applies. I said that yes, there is a collection agency involved, and these questions don't go into the bylaws. They are for anyone reviewing this at this level. Mr. Janes asked that the questions would be cleared up prior to going to town council, and I said yes, they would, and all the gray areas would be removed. I was curious about section 6-1012.2 on page 43, quote, Mass General Law behind this, end quote. Mr. Laporte said that they were asking if Mass General Law was behind this. Manager Clark stated it is a statute, and he would try and track down Mass General Law pertaining to it. Councilor Moriarty said the same would apply to page 45. The town manager would have to look those up as well. Page 46, he said there is a question as to who would hear the appeal, and he thought it should be the manager. And I agreed that it is the manager. Councilor Moriarty said on page 55, section -301.11, it wasn't really clear what the age should be. Town Manager Clark said he would look into it. Councilor Moriarty said on page 60, section 7-104.2, he was curious as to what would be done to violators, and I suggested that they should be fined. Mr. Clark said that under the revised wording, they could be cited for it if they are pretty blatant about violating the bylaw. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty and seconded by Citizen Member Christo to strike the words, quote, for longer than 12 hours before or after the collection period. This is referring to how long before you actually get your trash picked up you should put your trash out, and how long after you get your trash picked up you should take your trash barrel away from the curb. In section 10-101.1, and change it to, quote, from 12 noon the day prior to 12 noon the day following trash collection, end quote. Vote by a show of hands, 4 in favor, 1 opposed, motion passes. Councilor Manna had a question on page 22, section 3-209.2 regarding, quote, and enforcement, end quote, being crossed out. A motion was made by Citizen Member Janes, seconded by Councilor Moriarty, that, quote, and enforcement, end quote, be left in. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 5-0. Chairwoman Nicola asked that in regard to section 10-101.2, the second sentence be stricken. This is in regard to the bags that we use to put our trash in. Citizen Member Janes said that all it should say, that no opaque or black plastic bags shall be used as a liner in a trash receptacle. A motion was made by Citizen Member Christo, seconded by Councilor Moriarty, that the wording be changed to state that, quote, no opaque or black plastic bags shall be used as a liner in a trash receptacle, end quote. Vote by a show of hands, 3 in favor, 2 opposed. The motion passed. Citizen Member Janes stated that in section 7-501, the youth protection curfew, the way it is written, there is no curfew. Mr. Laporte said that it can be left the way it is. A motion was made by Citizen Member Janes and seconded by Citizen Member Christo that Section 7-501 be returned to the way it was originally written. Councilor Moriarty said that he did some research and there's no data to support curfews, and he said that studies show that juvenile violence peaks on school days in the hours between 3 and 6 p.m. and on non-school days between 7 and 9 p.m. 63% of juvenile violence occurs on school days. Juvenile violence is 5 times greater in the after-school hours than in the curfew period. I said that I am in favor of a youth protection curfew. I am more interested in C, promote parental supervision over minors, and D, promote the furtherance of family responsibility and for the public good, safety, and welfare. In my opinion, this is the town doing what the parents should be doing. No kid has any business being out on the streets at 11 p.m. I wasn't involved when this curfew was set up, but I like the idea of a curfew. I felt that the last sentence of Section 7-501.1 should say, quote, "The town council may revoke the youth protection curfew at their discretion," end quote. Vote by a show of hands. 4 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion passed. Agenda item number 3 was to vote to approve the proposed bylaw review committee recommendations as amended on November 25th, 2013, and to submit to council for ratification. A motion was made by Citizen Member Christo, seconded by Citizen Member Janes, with a favorable recommendation to council to approve the proposed bylaw review committee recommendations as amended on November 25th, 2013. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor. 5-0. It was unanimous. A motion was made to adjourn. We adjourned the meeting at 8:50 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Justine French, recording clerk. And that's
Thank
it.
you. Any discussion? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Madam Chair, just as a process of law, we did go through with the town attorney. He can certainly correct me if I'm inaccurate in the observations here. The bylaws are actually 105 pages long, so we did ask for an opinion in regards to how do we satisfy the elements of due process for folks to be able to understand what the changes are. The recommendation that came back was that the first reading, obviously, which is on for tonight, would be an overview of the changes that I believe were just done fairly comprehensively, and when the bylaws were discussed in subcommittee were done comprehensively. We will make these versions, the old version and the new version, available in different locations. We'll have them at Town Hall, at the library. In Town Hall, we'll have it in the manager's office as well as in the town clerk's office. And then I believe we already have these scanned and put onto the website, if I have that right. So there will be numerous opportunities for folks to be able to read through the bylaws in their entirety and to specifically see those highlighted changes in those. So I would just want to make sure that council's aware and that the general public's aware that in order to meet the due process requirements and notice requirements, we are taking that action. So if folks wish to look at the changes or see them, they are currently available, and they have, the town has 3 consecutive readings that needs to occur, and those readings will be done the way they were done this evening is the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Any more discussion? Councilor Moriarty?
Just a question through you to the manager. There are, from the minutes that Councilor Nicola had just read, and this is by my count, and I may be off 1 or 2 just by missing through it, because this is obviously a very wordy set of minutes. But of the 14 or so changes that were voted on or agreed upon or agreed to be altered, by my count, 8 of those 14 are not modified in the documents supplied to us. So basically, about half of them appear to have been changed in the document, the updated document that was handed out in the council packet, while 8 of the 14 did not. And I'm not sure if that is human error, if it was intentional, or what the deal is with that.
Well, I think, I don't have a direct answer to the question. Obviously, if you've identified something, if there was 14 changes and only 8 are reflected, if you could identify those, then most likely it was just an error in the translation. As the document indicates, there's actually 3 changes that were specifically made to it. One was a section that was commentary. Commentary is not bylaw, so commentary needed to be stricken, so the commentary would be stricken. Second would be substance changes or amendments that would be substance changes. Those are highlighted in red. And then really a third group, and hence the need to have people go refer to it, there's actually numerous changes in the document because they do not reference town council with capital letters, and we do change that. Officially, that is a change. Hence the reason that we want to have it published so people can go through every single change that's highlighted in there. But if you do have, if not all those changes you believe were made in there, we can certainly, if you can highlight those, review those with the staff and make sure that we have it. We did have a volunteer go through and put these together, so, you know, anything is possible that there may be some errors in it. And if you could highlight those, we certainly want to be fair and open in our interpretation of it.
And I will. I've kind of marked them out in the minutes with check marks and X's as to what appears to have gotten in and what didn't, and I'll forward that probably by email tonight or in the morning. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Nicola?
Yes.
Councilor Peliquin?
Yes.
Councilor Vandal?
Yes.
Councilor Krasko?
Yes.
Councilor Clements?
Yes.
Councilor Manna?
Yes.
Councilor Marcucci?
Yes.
Councilor Moriarty?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 14, councilors, yes. Before we go on to 14, Mr. Clark?
Before we go on to councilors' forum, I think that it shouldn't be lost on the group, or more specifically on the council, that the action taken tonight under, I think it was number 11, to appoint or to have an employment agreement with a acting town manager, that by not having that vote favorably, officially, there is no town manager as of December 27th, my last day. And I just want to make sure that the community understands and realizes that Karen Harnois, by service of the charter, will be the acting town manager until such time. By the same token, certainly kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit, it appeared that I don't believe anyone had anything against Mr. Reed, and I certainly hope Mr. Reed takes this in which the spirit in which I believe the vote occurred, that it's not certainly an assault against his credentials, because certainly he has sufficient credentials to be the manager of this community on an acting capacity. And if I read what transpired, it's a question more of the car allowance. If I have that wrong, I wish those that voted against would kind of highlight what the concerns are, because if they are solely the car, then I think that is an operational issue that can be resolved, and then when we have a full council available, have this come back for the January 6th meeting to have it be re-engaged. If there is a desire by the council or those that voted in the way they voted to not have a town manager and to leave Mrs. Harnois in the position solely, I think that needs to be identified so that the chair and the vice chair have some direction going forward for how the community is going to move forward. Because I certainly think that we are the second largest business in this community. We are a $54 million a year business. And I certainly don't think that it's the intent of the four to indicate that the leadership should be left in the capable hands, but not designed hands of the finance director for a long period of time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Agenda, yes.
Sorry, I could just respond to something Mr. Clark said.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to say, I thought you were going to go to Councilor's Forum, and I was going to make a comment. But your comments are well taken, and I was thinking completely on those terms, because that's exactly what I wrote, that you were trying to leave us in very capable, qualified leadership hands here. And it's a shame that during that vote, people did not speak up to amend the contract in some way so that we could have then completed this. I feel so strongly about that you leaving by the 27th and not having a manager, that I personally would be willing to come back next Monday to a special meeting, if that be the case, and and with an amended contract or whatever it is that we feel that we could put back on the agenda. I don't think leaving with us not having a qualified leader in place is in the best interest of this community. And perhaps some people didn't quite understand what their vote meant, but I certainly did, and I'm shocked for this community that we're going to be left in this position. The amount of money that is being talked about here is negligible. It may sound to some that $1,000 a week is a lot of money for part-time work, but in the position that we are talking about here from a business perspective, as we know from what our town manager gets paid currently and what other town managers in other communities get paid, regardless of the economic status in that community, town managers, certain businesses, certain positions in industry, in business in general, get paid a lot of money. That's just the way it is. And $1,000 for the part-time work, if you do the math out, you will see that we're not even close when we talk full-time at $1,000 a week for this part-time work. So numbers and arguing over a car or incentive there, I think is valid to have a concern. But I, for one, don't want to leave this until January, after Mr. Clark, under his guidance, is gone. I think that he did us a favor by finding Mr. Reed for us. And I think it's a real slap for all the good that we said and we applauded and we thought that he did a wonderful job in his tenure here, and for us then to vote down his appointment without reason, without coming up with any kind of concern during that vote, under discussion. I think that was very disrespectful, and I'm sad that that happened, and hope that we as a council will give up a little bit of time, set a special meeting, which we are allowed to do. Our minimum is twice a month, but if we have to come back Christmas week and take care of town business, that's our job. That's what we're elected to do. So I hope people will take the recommendation seriously and join me, if they would like to, and propose another meeting and get this cleared up before the end of the year.
I'll talk to the chairman when he's back from vacation, and we'll let everyone know. We're going to councilors' forum. Is it?
I just wanted to let you know, Madam Chair, that I do support Councilor Clements' recommendation for a special meeting next week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 14, councilors' forum. We're going to start with you, Councilor Carrasco.
Great, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And I will elaborate in regards to my decision to vote no. I am not in agreement with the employment contract. If we alter and change that, then, I would have voted yes. And again, it's not against Mr. Reed. His qualifications are more than great to have him, and I'm glad that he is here and willing to take this challenge of coming on board and helping us during our budget season. But again, I am not in agreement with the employment agreement. Therefore, that's why I voted no.
Just Madam Chair, just in terms of just the auto allowance, was that the primary issue, or were there other issues?
My biggest concern is the vehicle.
The vehicle, okay, thank you.
Are you all set, Councilor?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Moriarty.
Thank you. I have a handful. One is I had marked down that I wanted to refer to that agenda item number 11 as well, and certainly the bulk of my issue, similar, was to do with the vehicle issue. I had kind of offered up as a thought something that didn't seem to gain any traction, and at that point I didn't bother to make it as a formal motion, and perhaps I should have, and if I should have, I apologize for not doing so. Another part of it, a very small part, but just that nagging thing in the back of the head is certainly everything I've seen, and similar to Councilor Manna, I had gone online and tried to find some information just to be as educated and informed as I can, as I try to do with any and all of these. And certainly I did not find anything derogatory, negative, or anything else that would give me pause as to Mr. Reed's candidacy for this position. The nagging part in my head, however, is just simply that we had a 6:30 council the whole meeting to basically kind of, for the first time, vet this out, discuss it, think about it, and we're really vetting out a contract at that point. The regular council meeting scheduled for 7 started a little late. So part of my issue was also just kind of the timing. It didn't feel as if there was any sort of time to digest the information or to make any sort of rational and reasoned decision. And I try to subscribe to Thomas Jefferson's words as with that delay is preferable to error. And in this particular case, similar to what the manager had said and others, for Mr. Reed, I certainly hope that this doesn't put you off to the point that you wouldn't consider coming on board once and if things are kind of made whole in the council's eyes. And that's really the bulk of my issue there. Along the same line, since we're talking about the manager position, I just wanted to offer the outgoing manager, Chris Clark, best of luck, personally, professionally, as well as to Harwich and everything that may or may not go on there. One thing I can say is there have certainly been issues that we have agreed on or not agreed on, and that's fine. And one thing I think I've mentioned to the manager in the past, in just candid conversation, is far too often, whether it's justified or not, the town manager tends to be the guy that gets the finger pointed at him or her, whether or not there's just a cause for that or not. And that comes both from the citizenry, but also even from the council. Prior experience working for the newspapers, in a different, obviously, a much more, a different point of view, quite often I would see votes that would take place where the council, whether unanimously or pretty lopsided, would decide on an action, a course of direction. The manager, whether it was, actually I don't think I ever covered Chris Clark as a town manager, but previous managers, interim or permanent, would follow through with that to the best of their capabilities, whether or not we agree that it's their best of their capabilities. And then oftentimes when those things didn't work out, past councils would then point the finger at that manager in different cases for following through on their direction. So that's one thing that has always kind of bothered me, and I think I've shared that sentiment with Chris, that with any vote that I take, whether it works out or not, I try to take that as my vote, my direction, not as the manager. If the manager disagrees with something but the council says this is what you've got to do and it doesn't work out, it's not his fault per se. So more or less similar to what Councilor Carrasco had kind of campaigned on with the accountability being his kind of recurring theme, I think that's incredibly important, not just for the manager but for the council as a whole, and for the citizenry even, as far as when you're voting, certainly pay attention and see what each councilor and each candidate says and does, and hold their feet to the fire, whether that spells good things or bad things for any one of us. Just also as just a note, from what I understand from the clerk's office when I stopped in there to check on something today, tomorrow night's school committee meeting has been canceled because of the weather, just in case anybody was planning to attend. And lastly, just two quick ones. The Bicentennial Committee, which is coming up, the Bicentennial was in 2016, so really just a couple years away now. We're on the doorstep of 2014 before we meet again, in theory. They're doing a logo contest with a prize package that includes $200 cash, and that logo contest is running, deadlines have to be in by January 1st. So just wanted to kind of put that out there. You can get more information at southbridge200.org or southbridge200.com. Either website will work. It's the same site. You can also go on the Facebook page, which I think is facebook.com/southbridge200. Also, just a plug for a charity event that's coming up in late January 25th on Saturday, Jan 25. Chili Cook-Off and Minute to Win It Trivia Night at the Knights of Columbus, benefiting the American Cancer Society. $5 cover at the door, $5 to enter a chili. There were about 24 chilies last year, and was been pretty well attended. And more information will be out in the newspaper and such on that. And then lastly, just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Nicola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a few things, but they're all going to wait until after the new year. The only one thing I wanted to talk about was Chris Clark. 8 years ago, this guy stood in front of me. He looked a lot younger then, you know that? A lot younger.
Less gray hair, too.
Happier, too. Dumb and happy, huh? I asked you the question then, what have you heard about this council? And you gave, the politically correct way, I can work with anybody, blah, 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 blah. Your wife got up and said, hey, I've got a little one here, that's why I've got gray hair. I remember. And I have to tell you, you're not the first manager that I've worked with, and apparently not the last manager. I thought you were going to be the last manager, but you're not going to be the last manager. I just want you to know that I consider you a friend. And in a way, I'm glad you are no longer the manager, because I'll be more comfortable considering you a friend as opposed to being a colleague. It has been a tremendous pleasure, a unique experience. I've learned a lot from you in terms of character, integrity, honesty, and what it means to be committed. We've worked on a lot of projects together. I think I do know you pretty well, I can say that, and I would seek you out as a friend in another life because of the kind of person that you are. I'm a better person for knowing you, and I appreciate all that you've done for our community. I wish you all the best, to you and to your family. You deserve happiness, and I'm very jealous. So you know what my number is. If it's nice this summer, I could come down and watch the kids, I certainly find some time to do that. But seriously, thank you so much for all you've done for our community. We will miss you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Peliquin?
I don't know if I can follow all of that. I just wanted to say I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And Mr. Clark, thank you for your service to the community. You have every best wish of mine. I also made brownies for us to eat in executive session. And that's pretty much all I have tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Vandal.
Madam Chair, I just want you to know my no vote tonight wasn't against Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed's a fine, qualified individual, I'm sure. If Chris Clark said that Mr. Reed was top shelf, he's top shelf, I'll tell you. But my complaint was the contract. I mean, it was too lucrative of a contract. I mean, these people in Southbridge don't like $1,000 a week, $1,000 a week, salaries and stuff. This is a poor town, it always has been. Mrs. Clemens is over here smirking. $1,000 a week is nothing to the Clemenses, but to the...
Objection. Excuse me, Madam Chair. That was rude and inconsiderate.
That's your opinion.
No, that is the truth.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor.
And fix the contract, straighten out the contract, and I'd be willing to revisit it. And I want to wish Mr. Clark the best. I've worked under a lot of town managers, and as far as I'm concerned, he is the best, top shelf. And I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Manna.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. First of all, I would like to say that I am very disappointed in the way number 11 went down tonight, that if this does not come back before Mr. Clark leaves, Karen Harnois is going to be overwhelmed. She's going to 80-plus hours a week. That's two full-time jobs she's going to be handling. That's huge. So I wish there was a way that could even be brought back tonight, but if not, I do recommend that also go along with Councilor Clemens, a special meeting for next Monday, Christmas week. I would support that wholeheartedly. Also, I would like to wish Mr. Clark well. I met Mr. Clark 5 years ago when I started getting involved in town as a citizen. It's funny what bad things on your street do. Mr. Clark, actually, he came to one of his first, he wasn't even here a month, I don't think, and he was at my home. I invited him to a Crime Watch meeting, and he came, and he observed, and he participated, which was very nice. And I can attest to the fact that Mr. Clark does have an open-door policy for citizens. He's there. He would answer any of my questions in a timely manner, talk with me. I do wish you well, Mr. Clark. And although there are some things I did not agree with you on, I did agree with you on other things. I'm going to miss you. And I thank you for your service to our community. I'd also like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manna. Councilor Clements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In regard to Ms. Manna's statements, there's a way. It's called reconsider. It can be done by any member who voted with the prevailing side. And I know this because when I ran, somebody asked me if I was going to follow Robert's Rules of Order, and I took it really seriously and used this book a lot because rules and regulations seem to be what people wanted. So just letting you know, should somebody want to take this back up this evening, we're still in session. You could reconsider it. On that note, that's the last I'll say on that. We will have to do and complete our job at some point, hopefully sooner than later. And Mr. Clark, I was green when I came, and you taught me a lot. I think I taught you a few things. It was a good run, and I wish you were staying. I think there's a lot still yet to be accomplished, but there were a lot of great projects we worked on, and I think it just, I don't think that my time here would have been as productive and rewarding if it wasn't for you and your guidance. So thank you very much for that. The best to you and your family. Spent a little time together. I think your family's great. And best wishes in Harwich or wherever the good Lord takes you. Thank you very much. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you.
Is that, Councilor? Discussion of the next meeting date will be Monday, January 6, 2014, 7 p.m. in the council chambers. We do have agenda item number 16. We're going to vote to enter an executive session. And actually, yes. Oh, sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
As I've observed this meeting, particularly with respect to the vote for Mr. Reed, I'm not sure whether the outcome is desired, but the procedure might have taken the vote down a crooked path. I agree with Councilor Clements. A way to at least revisit it if it is not in the place where you want it to be as a council is a motion to reconsider, but it's a peculiar motion because it has to be made now. If you don't make the motion to reconsider and go to out of session, then you lose that. If a motion to reconsider was made, the motion comes back before you. A motion to amend could then be made if the problem of the motion was the contract, then a motion to amend the contract could be suggested and passed. If it works to a point where you have an amended contract that's satisfiable to you, then you could vote on that. So it could get resolved, but the particular motion to reconsider, if you walk away from this meeting, you can't make it. So, and it has to be made by those who were against the motion. So, the four of you, if you want to make it, now's the time to make it. If it was a sticking point with something in the contract, you could remedy it now.
Just as a point of order, unless there's some other loophole within Robert's rules, there is no prevailing side as it was a 4-4 tie.
No, that's a negative. The vote did not pass, so that means it's the negative side. It's your side. That's what that means. It didn't pass, so it's the no side. Sorry.
Since I see maybe a an effort to resolve it this evening. I would like to just say that I know Mr. Reed had initially came and just asked for a certain dollar, I think it was $150 weekly for a stipend for use of his own car and not use of the town vehicle. I did approach the chair and said, well, the town vehicle is going to be sitting just collecting snow at this point, I guess, and why not make the vehicle available to him? And the chair thought, yes, why don't we make the vehicle available to him? That's why the vehicle came up. It was in that contract the way it was. If council, and actually if Mr. Reed is comfortable with this, I mean, if you wanted to amend the contract in regards to that one section on the vehicle and eliminate the town vehicle and just put in there the $150 per week stipend for all travel related to that, presuming he's amenable to that, I don't see him shaking his head one way or another. But that may be an opportunity to get it resolved this evening. And under Robert's rules, and the way it's done here, it can be reconsidered and finished tonight, which I think would actually be a good thing to do. Or the second option, which was brought up, is once this session adjourns, then this session is over and a new session starts, and the chair or vice chair sets the agenda, and this could be back on for the next meeting. If you do want to enjoy your holiday and not have to come back, then there is a mechanism to resolve that tonight in a fairly efficient manner. But as council's pointed out, it does need to be one of the four that voted that way.
Seeing none.
I will make a motion to reconsider.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Can the second be by?
No. I think the second has to be. Council.
I don't have a problem waiting until next Monday. I mean, I want some of that language in this contract taken out. And I, like I said, I don't have a problem with waiting until next Monday. Thank you.
It doesn't say you can't second it.
Actually, Madam Chair, it has to be one member of the prevailing side that offers reconsideration, but then anybody can vote to do the second.
Second.
Okay. Motion is second. This is to reconsider.
Counselor Peliquin?
There's discussion, too. You can have debate on it.
Does anybody want to debate whether we want this?
Oh, okay, yeah,
A
right.
motion and a second? That's okay. Go ahead.
Counselor Peliquin? Counselor Vandal?
No.
Counselor Croscoe?
No.
Counselor Clemens?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
5 yes, 3 no.
Motion passes.
And then, Madam Chair, the reconsideration would be to amend the contract to change the section in regards to vehicle allowance to have in there just a $150 stipend in lieu of use of a town vehicle. Then that eliminates the whole de minimis. It eliminates a lot of issues, provided Mr. Reed is
Mr. Reed?
comfortable with that.
Mr. Reed? I have to know whether you're comfortable with that decision.
That's just one part.
I think perhaps Chris and I need to talk. I mean, I've done more contracts than I can remember, but I'm just not prepared to discuss this tonight this way.
Okay, thank you very much. All right,
Well,
so,
Madam Chair, again, in the effort, perhaps council could vote to make that amendment to the contract, send it to Mr. Reed for his consideration, and then pending a decision by him whether to accept the offer or not, would then allow the council to move forward. That obviously gives the council the opportunity to come back at a later date if those negotiations are not successful.
Okay. So now we're going to go back. What are we doing?
The amendment, I guess, to put some form and function to it, would be that under Section 6 of the contract, under expenses, it indicates that the town manager's duties require that he or she be on duty and available 24 hours a day. To strike the next line, which reads, "The town shall provide, maintain, and repair an automobile for the town manager's use." And then, I guess, potentially, just to make this simple, leave the line, "The town manager shall also be reimbursed up to $150 per week for his or her gasoline tolls and parking expenses in connection with his or her discharge of his duties," and then strike the last line.
Madam Chair? Excuse me, would it be appropriate for me at all to say a couple words?
Go ahead, Karen. Actually have some
before you-
sound out of these things.
I don't know.
Is that possible?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're all
Okay.
set. Thank you.
If you don't mind, thank you very much. I just kind of wanted to come up here and just say a couple things. As you can tell, Mr. Reed does have a lot of experience that he brings to the town, and he and I have been talking about, how we would work together in order to go through this transition and the best that we could bring to the town of Southbridge during this time. Right after the holidays, we do start our budget season, and, we were going to work together. I kind of counting on him for some guidance with that as well. I'd be very happy to fill in on those other days, that he's not here, or work with him to make what other decisions are necessary. But I really feel that the expertise that he brings and what he's going to bring to this community for the amount that we're paying him, if you actually divide that out to see what that yearly salary is, the town is actually getting a lot of bang for the buck, if you want to say there. I understand what you're saying about this, about the salaries and the community, but I really think the community would really benefit very much from his expertise and us working together. It would be a really good transition. We'd be able to work together to make sure that we cover all the subcommittees and whatever needs to be done. So I would just respectfully ask that maybe you would reconsider to put through the contract as it reads. Thank you for your consideration. Because quite honestly, I really am not sure that Mr. Reed would, I don't want to speak for him or whatever, but I'm not sure that he would consider any changes or reductions in that, because I think that's, he probably thinks it's very fair, and I would agree that that's a really fair contract. So thank you for your time.
Okay. There was a motion and a second, and now we've got to go back to the amended motion, which will read, Section 6B, the town manager's duties require that he or she be on duty and available 24 hours a day. The town manager shall also be reimbursed, no, I'm sorry, Chris.
Shall also be reimbursed.
Yeah, shall also be reimbursed for his or her gasoline, tolls, and parking expenses in connection with his or her discharge of his or her duties. The less, I'm sorry, at $150 per week. The last sentence is stricken, along with the town manager shall provide, maintain, and repair an automobile for the town manager's use.
So, Madam Chair, I've actually, I guess, put forward the concept that would need a motion and a second to forward that concept for consideration from anyone.
So moved.
Motion. Second? Did you say that, Councilor Manna? Thank you. Motion and a second. Discussion? Councilor Carrasco?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, I just have a question in regards to the wording here. Is he going to be using one of our town vehicles, or he's no longer going to be using our town vehicle?
The counter proposal to Mr. Reed for his consideration would be that the town manager's duty require that he or she be on duty and available 24 hours a day. The next line, which is the vehicle available to him, would be stricken. So that would be taken out. Then it would continue to read, the town manager shall also be reimbursed at $150 per week for his or her gasoline tolls and parking expenses in connection with his or her discharge of his or her duties. And then the last line, the vehicle may be used for personal use by the town manager, is also stricken.
But you also have an addition of the monetary.
In this case, the monetary is put in, so that way there is some consideration for his use of the vehicle.
Anyone else? Yes, go ahead.
I'm just curious, so are we eliminating his use of the vehicle while he's on the job also? I mean, that vehicle is going to, we don't know what will happen, obviously, with the next town manager. Currently, that's the vehicle that's put aside for your use. Is there any discussion on that? Or I'd like to know what people's thoughts are on the prevailing side, so that, not just, yeah, okay. Because obviously, I want to make sure that we're really clear on what we're offering or not offering. I don't want to lose a very qualified candidate.
Councilor Nicola?
Okay. We've had Heather Blakely up here a couple of times. If you're going to set a precedent where whoever the manager is going to drive their own vehicle and get a stipend for gas or whatever, and take that vehicle that's sitting back there so that something doesn't happen to it, and give it to the DPW director who's been looking for a vehicle for a while, and we've been trying to figure something out in that respect, and end the idea of the town manager ever having a town vehicle, and he or she can drive their own vehicle and be paid for whatever a stipend is for wear and tear on their vehicle, and end it once and for all. This is ridiculous. This is an embarrassment. I'm sorry. I apologize on behalf, because I'm embarrassed by the way this proceeding is taking place. And this is why this type of a meeting is supposed to take place in a meeting room, not in front of the cameras. This is what I call the Ken Kalinowski rule, where you bring somebody forward and embarrass them as if they weren't even in the room, talking about them like they were a piece of meat. So I'm a little disappointed that it came to this kind of a meeting. I thought we were past all of this, and that's what I thought this meeting was supposed to look like this evening, but I was informed that it was changed because some people felt that it was more important that the community see this. Well, I don't think that Mr. Reed is appreciating it very much. But anyway, that would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Madam Chair, actually, I was thinking about Mr. Kalinowski, that under this wording, Mr. Kalinowski had something very similar in the town vehicle while he was on the job at his duties. If he went and had an errand, or not an errand, if he had a work obligation, he would take the town vehicle while he's here. But getting to and from, Mr. Kalinowski was compensated in this way.
Well, I just want to make sure everyone understands that concept, because we've got enough contention.
Councilor Carrasco?
Again, unfortunately, this was given to us on Thursday in our packet. During our last council meeting, our chairman said that there was somebody in the works. We didn't have much information. And on Thursday, we get a contract. And we have a half hour to hear a presentation and discuss a contract. Again, I totally agree with Councilor Nicola that it doesn't do justice to Mr. Reed to be in front of us. But again, we as a council have to make the best decision for the citizens of Southbridge. Again, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to vote on something if I'm not clear and understanding. Now back to the amendment. So he would still be able to use the vehicle while he's on duty, which I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue. But we will be reimbursing him $150, and the vehicle will not be used for personal use.
Correct.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. So I have a motion and a second. Any Any more discussion? Councilor Moriarty?
And hopefully this isn't misinterpreted. That second sentence, the town shall provide, maintain, and repair an automobile for the town manager's use, I think rather than striking that, I think that's fine to leave in there, just perhaps putting in a comma and while on the job or for town duty kind of thing, rather than dumping that. I think that was one of the things I had noted originally when we first brought up the item, that was one of my issues, was more so, I don't have a problem with him using the vehicle while he's here. My thought was letting him drive in on his own, but using that vehicle here, it certainly doesn't do the vehicle any good to sit and rust for 6 months, so.
Just for simplicity's sake, we have, again, just so we don't amendment this thing to death, if you strike that out, we do have a pool car that we use. We don't have any specific language. People use it for town purposes. So this would be a car that would be for the manager's use while he's here. So I think there's, to the point, though, it should be reflected in the minutes that that's the intent of the offer to Mr. Reed.
The only thing, Councilor, to make another amendment
Yeah, I don't want to go through more red tape than
Okay.
needed, but
All right.
just as a
So
consideration.
that's okay with everyone? Everyone clearly understands that? Okay. Roll call, please.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Krasko?
Yes.
Counselor Clemens?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Present.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
She said present.
8 yes? Oh, honey, I can't hear you. Can you go to the microphone? I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Present.
Present, I'm sorry. 7 yes, 1 present. Thank you.
Motion passes. Agenda item number 16, vote, yes.
Madam Chair, that was a vote on the amendment now, the main
we gotta go
motion
back
as
to the main
amended.
motion.
And I would ask just to put this out of its misery, that we just forego the last executive session item, and that can be brought up at a later date
Okay.
with a new manager, hopefully.
Okay, so, no. What are we doing now? I am so confused.
That's okay. What I want to do is just reread 11. And then say
Okay, as amended, agenda item number 11, vote to ratify the employment agreement between the town of Southbridge and Robert Reed as acting town manager to perform the duties specified in the special act effective January 2nd, 2014 through June 30th, 2014. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any more discussion? And it better be a no. I'm kidding. Roll call. Roll call, please.
Counselor Krasko?
Yes.
Counselor Clemens?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Present.
Present. Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
7 yes, 1 present.
Thank you. The town manager just informed me, we are going to forego agenda item number 16. It's nothing that's concerning to the point of interest where something has to be done. So I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
That's what I like. Interrupt me. I love it. Just end it. Motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy New Year. And by the way, we are going to have a reception for Mr. Clark. If anyone is welcome to come up and see him and wish him well, it will be in the foyer. Thank you very much.